Hi, I'm Jay, and I've been using the Boox Palma 2 for 6 months now. If you missed my first review, I'll link it down below, but this one's all about how it's aged and whether it still earns a spot in my e-reader lineup. When I first unboxed the Boox Palma 2, I really thought this was going to not replace, but maybe overtake my Kindle. I currently use a Kindle Colorsoft. The Boox Palma 2, especially in the white, is beautiful. It's minimalist, sturdy, and just a little luxurious. Setup was intuitive, and it felt like it was made for people who love books but don't necessarily love tech. 6 months later, obviously we're still together, but is the honeymoon over? I've read quite a lot on it, carried it everywhere, and it's time to talk about what's aged well and what hasn't. If you're wondering whether it's worth the $270 price tag after some real-world use, here's everything I've learned. Let's start with the heart of any e-reader, the screen. The Palma 2 uses a 6.13-inch e-ink Carta 1200 display at 300 ppi. And that sharpness is still flawless after months of use. Text is crisp, contrast is excellent, and even tiny fonts stay legible. In terms of lighting, it performs beautifully in daylight. There's no glare, even under direct sun. At night, the adjustable front light offers both warm and cool tones, so you can fine-tune it. Myself personally, I tend to keep it on the warmer side. I feel like that softens the page nicely without having that blue tint that I don't really enjoy. Now, I'm someone who gets headaches from backlit screens, and this is where e-ink shines. The Palma 2 feels very close to paper. Not quite book paper, but close. And I can read for really long sessions without eye strain. This has become my daytime reader, if you will. I use it in light mode during the day. And at night, I switch to my Kindle Colorsoft where I use dark mode, which is more enjoyable on that device than on here, because especially in dim light, there is a glow to this in dark mode, almost like a soft aura. Here I am gonna show you what I'm talking about with the brightness turned all the way up, which I would never do, and I doubt you would either. But just to exaggerate what I'm talking about so that the camera can pick up on it, the contrast with the light text on the dark background just isn't very appealing to the eye for my own personal taste. So like I said, I am still defaulting to my Kindle Colorsoft in the evenings because I do enjoy reading in dark mode in the evenings and light mode during the day. Let's talk about ghosting. That faint leftover image from a previous page or previous pages. For me, I'm mostly using this device to read, and I'm doing that in HD, so ghosting is actually quite minimal. In ultra fast, I'd recommend upping your refresh rate. As you can see here, I'm having to manually refresh quite a bit of ghosting. I programmed the smart button as a manual refresh, so I can clear the screen with a tap if anything lingers. Boox's faster refresh modes do help, but since I'm normally using slower load speeds for reading, I set mine to auto refresh every 15 page turns, and that's been a comfortable setting for me. Because it's phone size, readability depends on what you're reading. For novels or articles, it's fantastic. I'm not really using the PDF capability or reading comics on the device, but I did try to read Heartstopper on it a few months ago. I didn't really enjoy doing that on such a small screen, and zooming constantly kills the flow. I did switch to my Colorsoft for this one for a slightly better experience, but even on that, I was wishing for more real estate. My personal opinion, this device is really optimized for text, not illustrations or dense formatting. If you like to highlight or annotate, that's technically possible in apps, but it's not an aesthetic experience. I like the option of using different highlighting colors to represent the various reasons I'm annotating, but knew going into a black and white device that wouldn't be an option here, so it's a compromise. This tiny little device is not built for note-taking, but it's built for reading comfortability, and it does that really well. Oh, and it has a camera. I wasn't sure where to fit this fun fact in, since I don't use it, let alone even remember that it has that feature on a day-to-day basis. But if you don't have your phone handy for snapping a pic of a document or whatever else, your cat, it does have that feature. Let's talk about power, because that is the biggest real world frustration I have with this device. Charging speed rather than usage is where reality hits. Let me explain. When I'm barely reading during the weekdays, like during the work week, it lasts me almost 2 weeks. With more regular daily reading, let's say 45 minutes to an hour, with the Wi-Fi off, mind you, I charge maybe once on the weekend. On heavy weeks, with the Wi-Fi on more, daily reading sessions, I'd probably say I'm charging this every 2 to 3 days. And that's fine. I feel like that's completely respectable. I'm not complaining at all, even though my Kindles over the years have definitely spoiled me in that department. They last so long. But here's the kicker. The charging time is rough. From dead, I'm talking it's dead, I haven't used it, maybe for whatever reason I haven't charged it, and my screensaver is now a sad dead battery. It can take a full 5 hours to charge if I have it plugged into my laptop. Usually I'd say I'm getting to it around the 15% mark, and if I plug it into a wall charger, it's closer to 3 hours to get to a full charge. For comparison, my Kindle Colorsoft takes a little bit less than an hour and a half to go from 15% to a full charge. I use the included cable, not a fast charger, because the faster ones can heat the device and degrade the battery over time. So the downside of this is that I have to plan ahead. This is not a quick top off kind of device. Once it's low, you're stuck waiting. But if you don't mind being attached to the cord, you can still read on the device when it's charging. That said, the battery itself has been consistent the whole 6 months. I have not noticed it degrading after 6 months of use. It still holds its charge just as well, but background tasks and Wi-Fi will drain it faster, especially on Android apps that are syncing in the background. Turning Wi-Fi off while reading offline really helps a lot. That has definitely become part of my routine. So battery life for reading is perfectly fine. Charging speed is what makes it frustrating. It's not a deal breaker, but it's the one thing that keeps me from calling it seamless. Now for performance, this is held up also really well. It runs Android 13, has 6 gigabytes of RAM and 128 gigabytes of storage. And for what I use it for, reading, that is plenty. Page turns are smooth, apps open quickly, and I've never felt it lag too much behind my tabs. Boox's faster refresh modes make animations faster, but for reading, I keep it on the balanced setting, sharp text without as much ghosting. I haven't noticed any shutdowns or freezes, but every once in a while, Libby or the Kindle app will just close itself. But it's rare. I think in the 6 months I've been using it, that's maybe happened a couple times. And I wanna say it happened in Kindle when I was using the assistive reader. That's the trade-off with Android e-ink. You get freedom, but not always perfection. There have been firmware update prompts. I'll admit I've ignored them, but Boox does seem to support updates consistently. So from a reliability standpoint, it's been excellent. I haven't had to baby it, and that's saying something for an Android-based reader. But what makes the Boox Palma 2 so versatile is it's not tied to a single ecosystem. Because it has Google Play, you can install almost any reading app. For me, I mostly live in Kindle and Libby. Those both work smoothly and sync perfectly between my various devices. Transferring files is not something I really do on this device, but it's pretty simple to just drag and drop. Or you can use a micro SD card on this device if you need more space. I think that that's like a bit overkill for just books, but great for anyone with audiobooks or multiple apps. Because of the e-ink refresh rate, some apps designed for LCD screens won't feel as smooth, like scrolling heavy ones, but you get used to it. It's surprisingly adaptable. When I first got this device, I was having fun with the personalization side. That was super simple to create backgrounds in Canva, drag and drop them into my pictures folder, and then I could easily access them on the device. Importing directly is so easy. And it's a small little touch, but it makes it feel like your device. As for limitations, I would say just the size again. While it's nice having such a compact little device, and for ebooks, it's perfect. PDFs are technically readable, but probably not super enjoyable. I'm not really using the device for that. Landscape mode is supported in some apps, not all, to help with this. The app I use most, Kindle, does not support orientation changes. And I can't say I'd really care to use Kindle in landscape mode. The Palma 2's build has held up beautifully. As you can see, it's phone-sized and only about 170 grams. That's also where it shines, portability. More often than anywhere else, I'm carrying this in a padded sleeve inside my backpack, sometimes packed against food containers, and it's traveled well. Even though it's pocket-sized, I would not recommend storing it in a pants pocket. Based on some other reviews, that's how you end up with a cracked or damaged screen. I've dropped phones before, but thankfully not this device, though it feels sturdy enough that I wouldn't necessarily panic. I don't use the standard Boox Palma cover with a screen flap. I switch between a couple lightweight Tudia back covers I've purchased on Amazon. For comfort, it's excellent one-handed, especially with a pop socket. And without one, it's a little slick, but the buttons are well placed and responsive. Over the 6 months, there's been no degradation in scrolling or with the page buttons either. Everything still clicks cleanly and is responsive. The speakers and Bluetooth have been great features as well, with assistive reader and audiobooks. It's far more seamless and distraction-free than when I'm using my phone for the same. The Palma 2 currently runs around $270 at full price, and that's where the relationship gets a little complicated. For that price, it's not an impulse buy, and I'll be honest, if you only plan to use this as a basic e-reader, that number feels steep. It's nearly twice the price of a Kindle Paperwhite and way more than that for like a Kindle Basic. And the reading experience isn't twice as good. The difference is in flexibility. This can run almost anything. It's an open ecosystem, so you're not locked in. So the freedom is what makes it appealing, especially for readers who want a discreet, on-the-go device that doesn't feel like a tablet. I grab it at work and in waiting rooms, places that maybe pulling out an actual book would be considered rude or a full-size e-reader, but this is like acceptable to scroll on your phone. So that's what people think you're on. So it's the device I use when I want to read, but not actually be on my phone. Recently, a pro version of this came out that offers color. Would I pay more for the new Palma Pro with color e-ink? The short answer is no. It's going for $400, and I don't think that color would really add anything to my experience on this device, especially since I already have a Kindle Colorsoft. So back to the Boox Palma 2. Yes, it is also pricey, but if you value portability and customization more than quick charging or annotation tools, I think it's worth it. So, has the honeymoon ended? Yes, but in a good lived-in kind of way. The excitement of a new pretty toy has worn off, but what's left is a reliable little reader that fits perfectly into my life. It didn't dethrone my Kindle like I thought it would, and it also didn't transform my habits like I thought it would, but it's carved out a specific role, my out-of-the-house daytime reader, and it really does that perfectly. And I do like the option of stepping out of the Kindle ecosystem, even though I haven't taken advantage of it that much yet. So my biggest pro with this device is the display clarity and reading comfort. My biggest con, how long it takes to charge. I sound like a broken record, I know. Bottom line, if this were my only e-reader, I think I would be frustrated with it. But as part of my rotation, it's become something I genuinely like using, especially for short, focused reading bursts. And my battery died, so let's wrap this up. If you're someone who values eye comfort, portability, and the freedom to use any reading app, you'll love it. If you need lightning fast charging, more screen real estate for what you are reading, or annotation features, you'll probably end up frustrated. If you've had your Palma for a while, tell me how your experience has been. I'd love to compare notes on whether your honeymoon period lasted longer than mine. And if you're still on the fence with getting this device, I'd love to hear why. And if you're new here, again, I'm Jay, reader first, occasionally tech curious, and this channel's all about reading and occasionally the little tools that make it better. If you enjoyed this video and that sounds like something you're interested in, I would love it if you stick around and subscribe. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again soon in the next video. Bye!